We will discuss tonight Hamas's conditional agreement to release all hostages. Could this turn into another stalled peace deal? We'll discuss that. Also on the show, the Indian Navy's new anti-submarine vessel INS Andrath was commissioned today. We will tell you all about India's move towards a more self-reliant defense ecosystem. And President Trump has shared a bizarre AI-generated video portraying his budget director as the Grim Reaper. Stay tuned for that report as well. Let's get started. Now, tomorrow marks 2 years since the war in Gaza began, a war that has claimed more than 67,000 lives and, according to the United Nations, has left nearly 2.2 million people in Gaza homeless amid ruins and desperation. Even as indirect talks between Hamas and Israel have begun just a short while ago in Egypt's Sharm el-Sheikh for a hostage-prisoner exchange and Gaza ceasefire. It appears, though, the fate of the hostages ultimately could determine whether this war finally ends or explodes into something even deadlier. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has made his stance clear. Not a single step in US President Donald Trump's peace plan will move forward until every hostage, living or dead, comes back home. He said that Israel will not advance to any other phase of the deal until all captives are returned to Israeli soil. Netanyahu said that if Hamas fails to release the hostages, in his words, Israel will go back on the offensive in Gaza. Remember, Netanyahu last week had said that Israeli army will remain in most of the Gaza Strip. Trump has also issued a warning of his own. He said Hamas will face complete annihilation if it tries to cling to power in Gaza. Now, according to reports, 48 hostages remain in captivity and only 20 are believed to be alive. The US brokered plan aims for the release of those surviving hostages along with the remains of the others in exchange for hundreds of Palestinian detainees. The proposal also calls for a complete halt to fighting within 72 hours. But even as negotiators meet in Egypt for indirect peace talks between Hamas and Israel, war continues in Gaza. Smoke rose over Gaza City today. Donald Trump remains confident that peace is within reach.
Yeah, we're going to very quickly. We had some very good meetings. The countries of the world, a lot of the countries surrounding Israel, frankly, Muslim, Arab, and many others have had great meetings with Hamas, and it looks like it's working. So we'll wait for a little while, see how it all turns out.
Now, foreign ministers, various countries, including Egypt, have called the indirect Israel-Hamas meeting a real opportunity to reach a lasting ceasefire. A senior Hamas official told AFP that the group wants an agreement that ends the war and starts a prisoner exchange immediately. Al Arabiya, citing sources, said Hamas is even willing to surrender its weapons, but only under international supervision. While on the Israeli side, Netanyahu has dispatched his top negotiators to Egypt, expressing hope that hostages could be released within days. Hundreds of protesters gathered outside Israeli Prime Minister's residence, chanting, "Seal the deal," a message directed at Israel's negotiating team. And at the same time, pro-Palestinian demonstrations erupted across several countries, including Serbia and the United Kingdom. Now, Israeli strikes continued across the Strip even as Trump and U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio both called on Israel to halt its operations immediately. Warnings that appear to have gone unheeded. So as the war turns to tomorrow, West Asia stands at a crossroads. The release of hostages now holds the power to decide whether peace finally takes shape or whether the bloodshed deepens. And India is heading towards a self-reliant defense ecosystem, and today that mission has got a big boost. The Indian Navy's new anti-submarine vessel, INS Andrath, was commissioned today. The Indian Navy's latest milestone, it's not just a story of naval might, it's a story of Indian steel, of innovation and decades of naval expertise. India's own steel giant, SAIL, has powered this naval modernization. SAIL supplied the entire requirement of special-grade steel for this vessel. INS Andrath has over 80% of material that has been developed indigenously in the country. With its production today, INS Andrath has become the second ship in the series of anti-submarine warfare shallow water craft corvettes. The first was INS Arnala, and it joined the fleet back in June. SAIL provided the full quantity of steel, including hot-rolled sheets and plates, for 8 ASW vessels under construction at Garden Reach Shipbuilders and Engineers in Kolkata. This steel came from Bokaro, Bhilai and Rourkela. According to SAIL, this commissioning highlights not just the Navy's growing maritime capabilities, but also India's commitment to an Atmanirbhar Bharat, or self-reliant defense ecosystem. This is not the first time SAIL has played a crucial role in the Navy's modernization. Earlier this year, the company supplied over 8,000 tons of critical-grade steel for advanced frontline warships, INS Udaygiri and INS Himgiri, inducted in August, partnering with Mazagon Dock Shipbuilders as well as Garden Reach Shipbuilders. SAIL provided essential hot-rolled sheets and plates, ensuring these vessels were entirely built from Indian resources. Andrath's commissioning in the Indian Navy marks India's push towards indigenization and enhancement of its defense capabilities. And recently, several state-of-the-art warships have joined the Indian Navy, and this induction is part of the larger fleet and momentum that is being built towards building India's maritime strength. On Sunday, the Ministry of Defense, while making an announcement of the ship's commissioning, said that the commissioning of Andrath will significantly bolster the Navy's ASW capabilities, especially in countering threats in littoral waters. Andrath joins the recent inductions of Arnala, Udaygiri, Nilgiri in the Indian Navy, becoming a part of military's growth across maritime operations. And Russia's Ministry of Defense has reported a major military development overnight, claiming its air defenses down 251 Ukrainian drones in what's being described as one of Kyiv's largest counterattacks since the invasion began more than 3 years ago. Now, according to the Russian Defense Ministry, these air defenses intercepted and destroyed drones over several key regions, including 40 over Crimea, 62 over the Black Sea, and additional drones over Russia's Kursk and Belgorod regions. Meanwhile, in the Russian region of Belgorod, Ukraine's overnight shelling, it's caused widespread damage to power infrastructure. Governor of Belgorod has confirmed that emergency teams worked overnight to restore power to nearly 34,000 residents. However, approximately 5,400 people remain without electricity across 24 different municipalities. And this comes after a deadly series of Russian strikes on Ukraine's western Lviv region on Sunday. At least 5 people were killed and critical energy infrastructure was severely damaged here. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said that Russia sent approximately 550 munitions across the country. Zelensky claims Ukraine has found tens of thousands of foreign-made parts in the drones and missiles Russia fired in a weekend air attack. Sharing a post on X, Zelensky wrote that microcomputers for flight control produced in the UK were found in the drones used in the attack, along with other parts from other allies, including the US. Strikes were reported in multiple regions, including Lviv, Kharkiv, Odessa and Zaporizhia. In a related development, Russia's Ministry of Defense also reported a significant strike against Ukrainian military assets. Russian forces using an Iskander-M missile system have targeted a camouflaged HIMARS rocket position. Moscow claims the strike resulted in the destruction of a HIMARS multiple-launch rocket system, a transport loading vehicle, 2 all-terrain vehicles and the deaths of at least 15 Ukrainian soldiers. And tensions between NATO and Russia are rising once again, this time along the northern edge of Europe. NATO has officially opened a new command center in Finland, just a short distance from Russia's border, prompting Moscow to ramp up its own military presence nearby. NATO's command center is located in the Finnish city of Mikkeli, roughly 300 kilometers from St. Petersburg and about 140 kilometers from the Russian border. According to the Finnish Defense Ministry, this new center will oversee NATO ground operations in Northern Europe, manage joint military exercises and coordinate land defense strategies if an emergency arises. The facility currently employs about 10 personnel, but that number will grow to around 50 during peacetime operations. It will function under NATO's command structure in America's Virginia, operating round the clock as part of the alliance's broader defense framework. In response, Russia appears to be fortifying its western defenses, with NATO officials pointing to satellite images confirming new construction of Russian bases and military infrastructure near the Finnish border. That perhaps appear to be in the early stages of a long-term expansion. NATO officials said that this build-up looks far smaller in scale compared to Russia's military positioning before the Russia-Ukraine war broke out in 2022. Now, Finnish defense officials believe that once the intense phase of the Russia-Ukraine war subsides, Moscow could redeploy thousands of troops to the Finnish border. Russia had already announced last month that it would strengthen its 1,300-kilometer border with Finland by erecting new fortifications and barriers, citing what it called potential unfriendly acts from Helsinki. Finland, on its part, has also begun reinforcing its eastern border. Construction of a 200-kilometer fence is underway and is expected to be completed by the end of 2026.
Kato vaikka voisiko se olla tuonne aidan suuntaan vähän, joo.
Now, across Europe, other nations are making similar preparations. In Sweden, its citizens are stocking up on food items for a potential European war, with authorities encouraging measures to boost readiness.
In the event of a crisis or even war, it's important that every individual in our country knows that they are a key player and they need to prepare to be a key player by stocking up food, making sure they have water and other things that makes their world go around.
Now, in Estonia, authorities have started expanding fortifications along the Russian border, including fences, anti-tank barriers and underground bunkers, while Germany is reviewing its medical readiness for a large-scale conflict. Military planners are preparing systems capable of treating up to 1,000 wounded soldiers a day if a war breaks out between NATO and Russia. Poland is intensifying its defense training programs with efforts to prepare every adult male for potential mobilization. Further north, Norway, which shares nearly 200 kilometers of its border with Russia, is reopening old military bunkers and has made bomb shelters mandatory in all new building designs. Reports of unidentified drones flying over European cities such as Munich in Denmark have stirred concerns that Russia could be probing NATO's air defenses. At a recent forum in Sochi, Russian President Vladimir Putin warned that Moscow would respond significantly to Europe's militarization.
In Germany, for example, they're talking about how the German army should once again be the most powerful in Europe. Well, we're listening carefully, watching what exactly they mean. I think no one doubts that Russia's countermeasures won't be long in coming. The response to these threats, it seems, to put it mildly, will be very significant.
All right, so from Finland to Germany, preparations suggest a growing sense that NATO is getting ready across the continent for a war with Russia. Negligence can kill, whether within the walls of a hospital or through the very medicines meant to save lives. Two tragic incidents in India have exposed shocking lapses in safety and in accountability, leaving families shattered and demanding answers. From a deadly fire in a Jaipur hospital ICU to a poisoning tragedy involving contaminated cough syrups that claimed the lives of innocent children. These two incidents reveal how lives are lost both inside and outside of medical care. Let's begin with Jaipur. Late on Sunday night, a massive fire broke out in the trauma center ICU at Jaipur's prestigious Y. Man Singh Hospital. What began as a short circuit in a storage room turned deadly in minutes. It engulfed the neuro ICU in thick smoke. 11 critically ill patients were trapped inside. 6 of them lost their lives. Relatives allege hospital staff abandoned their duties and delayed evacuation. They say family members had to rush in to rescue their loved ones amid all this chaos. Prime Minister Narendra Modi expressed condolences, wished speedy recovery to the injured. Rajasthan Chief Minister Bhajan Lal Sharma visited the hospital and assured that the injured would receive proper treatment and care. The Rajasthan government has constituted a 6-member committee to investigate this incident. While families in Jaipur battle that fire, there are families in Madhya Pradesh who are fighting a hidden killer. In Chhindwara district, 16 children died of acute kidney failure after being given medicines prescribed for routine cough and cold. At the center of the probe was Colrif, a cough syrup manufactured by Srishan Pharmaceuticals in Tamil Nadu's Kanchipuram. Investigations revealed that prescribed cough syrups like Colrif were contaminated with diethylene glycol. It is a deadly industrial chemical used in products like brake fluid and glue. This poison caused rapid kidney failure and death in these children. The shock deepened as similar deaths were reported in Rajasthan, exposing massive gaps in drug testing and regulation. Tamil Nadu drug control authorities confirmed the syrup was adulterated. On the 2nd of October, the Tamil Nadu Drug Control Authorities declared that the Colrif syrup sample they tested was adulterated. According to the report, it contained 46% of diethylene glycol. The Madhya Pradesh government moved only on the 4th of October when Chief Minister Mohan Yadav held Colrif cough syrup responsible for the child deaths and ordered a blanket ban on its sale. Several other states have also banned this fatal product. With the cough syrup tragedy playing out across multiple states, the centre has now stepped in. The Union Health Ministry has urged caution in prescribing cough syrups to children and has called for stronger monitoring to prevent such tragedies. The World Health Organization has linked cough syrups contaminated with diethylene glycol and ethylene glycol to over 300 child deaths worldwide since 2022. One such disaster played out in Gambia in 2022 when at least 70 children died after consuming contaminated cough syrups. Jammu and Kashmir's Ramnagar district had reported deaths of 17 children back in 2020. An investigation linked them to the consumption of a faulty batch of coal-based PC cough syrup that contained 34.97% of diethylene glycol. Let's also take a look at what's coming up for you on the show going forward. Tensions in France have reached a fever pitch. French Prime Minister Sébastien Lecornu and his government resigned on Monday. We'll get you that story. Also on the show tonight, Russia has a new power couple rewriting the rules of politics and pop culture. Stay tuned to know more about them.
Plus jamais nos enfants.
So let's zoom in on France. France is facing a major political crisis and it is deepening by the hour. Just hours after being appointed, just a month after being appointed, French Prime Minister Sébastien Lecornu and his government resigned on Monday. The government was announced on Monday as well. Lecornu, close ally of President Emmanuel Macron, had announced his cabinet lineup. This was on Sunday. But opposition and even allies quickly threatened to topple this new government, leaving him with no choice but to step down. Lecornu's resignation comes only 27 days, so short of a month, in office, making him the shortest-serving prime minister in modern French history. His government lasted just 14 hours. Macron has now seen 5 prime ministers in 2 years as he struggles to govern a deeply divided parliament. The political instability has immediate consequences. French stocks fell sharply, with the CAC 40 index dropping over 1.5%. The euro also slid, hitting $1.1665. Investors are watching closely as France struggles with high debt rising to nearly 114% of its GDP and a deficit that remains nearly double the EU's 3% limit. So, what happens next? Macron, whose term runs until 2027, could try appointing another prime minister or call snap parliamentary elections. In recent months, he has ruled out resigning or dissolving parliament. Opposition parties, however, are demanding action. Marine Le Pen of the far-right National Rally has called the situation a farce, while Mathilde Pénaud of the hard-left France Unbowed said, and I'm quoting here, "The countdown has begun. Macron must go." Even conservative Republicans have joined the calls for a solution. Lecornu has blamed the crisis on political egos, opposition parties refusing to compromise, and members of his own minority coalition focused on their own ambitions. But Lecornu's cabinet lineup itself was controversial. At least that's what some critics think. Some say it was too right-wing, others said it was not right-wing enough, raising questions about how long it could have survived in a divided parliament. France has rarely seen political instability this severe. Since the Fifth Republic was established in 1958, the system was designed to ensure strong governance with a centralized presidency. Yet Macron faces a fragmented parliament with the far right and hard left holding sway with no clear path to stable coalition building. With economic pressure mounting and no clear political majority, France is entering uncharted waters. And the coming weeks could determine not just the fate of Macron's government, but the stability of the Eurozone's second largest economy. And in a startling display on his social media platform, Truth Social, Donald Trump shared a bizarre AI-generated video portraying his budget director as the Grim Reaper. In this video, Russell Vought is seen with a scythe in his hand and comes as the government shutdown drags on. In the video, it features a backdrop of dark storm clouds hovering over a darkened Capitol Hill, with Vought walking the empty city. That symbolizes his central role in wielding power over federal funding during this impasse. Now, Russell Watt, who served as budget director during Trump's first term, has become a vocal advocate for shrinking the federal bureaucracy. He is believed to be driving the administration's aggressive stance in the shutdown standoff. He has already announced billions in paused infrastructure funds targeting Democrat-led states and cities. This hardline approach has unsettled even some Republican lawmakers. Watt's unapologetic aim to deconstruct the administrative state and his past comments about traumatizing federal workers have drawn sharp criticism. Yet, Trump appears to be empowering him further, linking him to Project 2025, which is a controversial plan to reshape the federal government. The shutdown has furloughed roughly 750,000 federal employees. It's frozen key economic reports. While political tensions escalate over funding demands and policy concessions, some Republicans fear that Watt's hardline tactics could jeopardize their political standing and squander their advantage. Trump hails the crisis as an unprecedented opportunity to cut government spending. And a devastating landslide disaster struck Darjeeling, which is one of the most picturesque regions of India. Torrential rainfall triggered one of the worst landslides in over a decade. Relentless downpours have caused entire hillsides to give way, burying homes and roads and resulting in at least 28 confirmed fatalities, with several injured. The districts of Darjeeling and nearby Jalpaiguri have borne the brunt of this destruction. Mirik, the worst hit area, and several other regions including Jore Bungalow, Sukhia Pokhri and Sadar police station areas are also severely impacted. The landslides have triggered widespread devastation, cutting off entire villages, blocking key roads and disrupting communication networks.
बाटो चाहिँ यहाँ हेर्नु न आज रातिको पानीले चाहिँ यो डल्लै गएछ है बाटो अब यति एकदम यो स्कुटी चाहिँ छिर्छ होला स्कुटी र मारुति भ्यानहरु चाहिँ छिर्न सक्छ होला तर पनि अलिक रिस्कै छ किनकि यता मुनि हेर्नुस् है.
Now, thousands of tourists who flock to the region for the Durga Puja holidays find themselves stranded as rain continues to pour. Local authorities have confirmed that landslides have been reported in 35 different locations across the hill district, and the region remains largely isolated. The devastation has been compared to the deadly landslides of 2015, which killed nearly 40 people. But this year's disaster is proving to be especially challenging, as crucial roads such as the Mirik-Sukhia Pokhri route have been completely blocked. And an iron bridge connecting Siliguri to the Mirik-Darjeeling route has been severely damaged. For residents and tourists alike, the road ahead remains uncertain as continuous rainfall hampers rescue and relief efforts. Rescue teams are working round the clock using heavy machinery and manual labor to clear the rubble and reach those in need. In some areas, locals have joined in the efforts, assisting in the search for survivors and providing aid to the injured. The collapse of the bridge and roads have isolated several villages, making it difficult for emergency services to access these areas. In response, the Indian Army has been deployed to assist in the rescue and relief operations. The monsoon season has always posed challenges for the hilly regions of Darjeeling, but experts warn that climate change is exacerbating the frequency and the intensity of such disasters. The Geological Survey of India estimates that nearly 13% of the country's landmass is prone to landslides, with the northeastern states being particularly vulnerable. Now, two leaders, two navies, but one message, power on display. On one side, US President Donald Trump celebrated the 250th anniversary of the US Navy with live fire drills and fighter jets aboard the USS George H.W. Bush And on the other, North Korea's Kim Jong-un also inspected the WION destroyer to showcase North Korea's growing naval might. Let's take a look at these rival displays of sea power.
경애하는 김정은 동지와 명예 위병대를 사열하셨습니다. 분열 행진을 사열하셨습니다. 무장장비 전시회 개막식 참가자들이 함께 참관했습니다.
해구상자 태양궁철 제대시 알았습니다. 쭉!
Now, rescue efforts are underway in the remote Tibetan slopes of Mount Everest, where a snowstorm has trapped nearly 1,000 people in campsite on the eastern side of the mountain. Hundreds of local villagers and rescue teams have been deployed to clear out snow, blocking access to the area, which sits at an altitude of more than 4,900 meters. According to local media, about 350 people have been rescued and have been guided to safety so far, while contact with the remaining 200-plus trekkers have been made. Eyewitness footage shows the snowy conditions. In one video, in fact, a line of hikers can be seen wading through snow in poor visibility. Now, heavy snowfall began on Friday evening and has intensified on the eastern slopes of Mount Everest in Tibet, which is an area popular with climbers and hikers due to its easy access by paved roads. October is peak season when skies are usually clear at the end of Indian monsoon, but ticket sales and entry to the entire scenic area was suspended from late Saturday, according to an official notice. And Russia has a new power couple and they are impossible to ignore. They're rewriting the rules of politics and pop culture. One is a pro-Kremlin pop star whose songs glorify the military. The other is Moscow's top censor, cracking down on bloggers, musicians, social media. Together, they've launched a nationalist political party, and critics say their rise signals a bold new chapter in Putin's Russia. On one side is Yaroslav Dronov, better known by his stage name Shaman, a pro-Kremlin pop star whose music has been described as the unofficial soundtrack of Russia's war in Ukraine. His hit songs Let's Rise glorifies Russian troops, heroes who sacrifice everything for victory. Its music video shows Shaman marching through Red Square in black leather with the Russian flag armband. It's drawn comparisons to Nazi propaganda. Shaman has performed for President Vladimir Putin, for Russian troops, in the occupied territories of Ukraine, and even for North Korean leader Kim Jong-un in Pyongyang. Once a little-known contestant on a televised talent show, mentored by Russia's most famous pop singer, Alla Pugachev, Shaman is now hailed by the Russian state media as a potential future MP or even the Kremlin's next culture minister. With him is Ekaterina Mizulina, the head of the Safe Internet League and Moscow's chief censor. She reportedly oversees the crackdown on bloggers, musicians and rap artists. Under Russia's wartime censorship laws, many of her targets are forced to apologize publicly or even face prosecution. Mizulina has openly supported Kremlin bans on what it calls extremist child-free and LGBT ideologies, which officials claim threaten Russia's future. The daughter of a notorious pro-Putin MP, Mizulina has become a celebrated figure in Russian state media. Well, opposition critics deride her as a robotic enforcer of Kremlin ideology. Together, Shaman and Mizulina have recently launched a new political party. It's called WE, which comes just weeks after announcing their relationship with a public kiss on stage. Named after one of Shaman's songs, the party is an ode to the Russian nation with lyrics that declare, and I'm quoting here, "God is with us, forever united in our blood." Analysts say that the party could serve as a Kremlin-sanctioned outlet for pro-war hardliners, though its exact role within Russia's tightly controlled political system remains unclear. Shaman's public image is also a striking mix. Part militaristic showmanship, part bubbly boy band entertainer. Despite heavy promotion in state media, reports suggest that some provincial shows have been cancelled due to poor ticket sales, casting doubt on his true popularity. But Mizulina's influence, meanwhile, that runs deep. According to some websites, she has issued denouncements against over 300 individuals. This includes journalists, musicians, and bloggers. She enforces laws that punish dissenting voices and censors content deemed incompatible with the Kremlin's vision. Now, some critics say that the couple has become a symbol of everything that troubles Putin's opponents, a mix of culture, a bit of propaganda, politics, all rolled into one. But this isn't new. There is historical precedent in Russia for moving from entertainment to politics. Take Soviet-era singer Yusuf Kobzon. For example, he became a long-time MP supporting Kremlin military actions, and now Shaman appears to be following a similar path, with the backing of Russian state media and protected by loyalty to the president. According to reports, Shaman and Mizulina are redefining what it means to wield soft power in Putin's Russia. And the 2025 Nobel Prize season has begun, and it starts with a big breakthrough in medicine. This year's Nobel Prize in medicine goes to 3 scientists. That's Mary Brunko, Fred Ramstel, and Shimon Sakaguchi for their research on peripheral immune tolerance. The announcement came from the Nobel panel in Stockholm. The Nobel Committee said the trio's discovery explains how the immune system keeps itself under control, preventing the body from attacking its own organs. Shimon Sakaguchi from Osaka University identified a special class of immune cells known as regulatory T cells. These cells act as the immune system's peacekeepers, guarding against autoimmune diseases. Mary Brunko and Fred Ramstel, working at the biotech firm Celltech Cyroscience in Washington, expanded this research by studying how these cells can be used to treat autoimmune disorders. Their combined work, it solved a long-standing medical mystery, and that is how the immune system avoids attacking itself. This discovery now guides new treatments being tested, of course, in clinical trials. These therapies could transform the fight against autoimmune diseases, improve cancer treatment, and reduce complications after stem cell transplants as well. With the Medicine Prize announced, the Nobel Week continues. The award for physics will be revealed on Tuesday, chemistry on Wednesday, literature on Thursday. The Nobel Peace Prize will be announced on Friday. The Economics Prize will close the week on the 13th of October. And Japan has a new milestone in its political history. For the first time in almost 70 years, the ruling Liberal Democratic Party has elected a female leader, Sanae Takaichi, a hardline conservative and longtime advocate of former Prime Minister Shinzo Abe's economic policies. Takaichi is now Japan's likely next Prime Minister. Japan's financial markets, they've reacted sharply. Investors are betting on what's being called the Takaichi trade. Expectations of bigger fiscal stimulus, looser monetary policies, and a weaker yen. Tokyo stock surged to record highs on Monday, with the benchmark Nikkei 225 soaring as much as 4.3% to an unprecedented 47,000 1,734 in the first 15 minutes of trading. Meanwhile, the broader Topix index gained 2.3%. At the same time, the Japanese yen weakened sharply against the US dollar, falling 1.6%, reflecting investor expectations that Takaichi's administration will push for expansionary policies. Traders are eyeing the so-called Takaichi trade. Companies in sectors ranging from pharmaceuticals and semiconductors to auto and engineering saw strong gains. Defense companies in particular rose on anticipation of increased military spending. Under a Takaichi government, with Mitsubishi Heavy climbing 13% by mid-morning, however, financial stocks lagged as traders they've scaled back bets on a Bank of Japan rate hike this month. Reserve Bank fell nearly 5%, while Mitsubishi UFJ dropped about 2.5%. Analysts say the likelihood of an interest rate increase is now below 50%, with uncertainty stemming both from the US government shutdown and Takaichi's dovish stance, of course, on monetary policy. The bond markets also reflected this mixed sentiment. Short-term Japanese government bond yields fell by 5 basis points, while long-dated bonds sold off, with 30-year yields rising 0.13 points to 3.28%. Investors are weighing the risk of increased fiscal spending and higher debt against expectations that actual policy changes may be limited, preventing dramatic spikes in long-term yields. Market strategists note a tug-of-war between short-term political volatility and the gradual impact of increased bond issuance. Some warn that prospective defense as well as growth-oriented spending combined with a larger supplementary budget could heighten uncertainty for investors in the months ahead. Despite all of these concerns, many analysts caution that Takaichi may face constraints in implementing aggressive reflationary policies. Now, her coalition partners and the broader political balance in the LDP could temper expansive measures, limiting the potential for major market disruptions. For now, the markets are riding this momentum of this Takaichi trade, but economists and strategists alike, they are keeping a close watch on how Japan's first female prime minister will navigate this delicate balance between growth, fiscal responsibility, as well as monetary policy. All right, we now shift our attention to the South Pacific nation of Fiji. The country of fewer than 1 million people now faces one of the fastest growing HIV crises in the world, with experts warning the worst is yet to come. Over the past decade, Fiji's HIV numbers have skyrocketed. According to UNAIDS report, in 2014, fewer than 500 people were living with the virus. By 2024, that figure skyrocketed to nearly 5,900. That's an 11-fold increase. And just to put that into perspective, last year nearly 1,600 new HIV cases were recorded. That is 13 times higher than the nation's 5-year average. And around 40 of these cases involved children aged 15 or younger, up from just 11 in 2023. These statistics prompted Fiji's Ministry of Health to declare an official HIV outbreak in January. Now officials are warning that more than 3,000 new infections could emerge by the end of 2025. Fiji's Assistant Health Minister called the situation, and I'm quoting here, a national crisis that shows no signs of slowing down. At the core of this epidemic lies a mix of factors, such as rising drug use, unsafe sex, and the dangerous practice known locally as Bluetoothing. In this method, one drug user injects their blood after taking a hit into another person, who might then pass it to a third, and the cycle continues. This process, also called hotspotting, it's been seen before in South Africa and Lesotho, 2 countries with some of the world's highest HIV rates. And what's leading to this? According to experts in Fiji, syringes, they're difficult to get. Pharmacies often require prescriptions under police pressure, and needle exchange programs are scarce. Hence, sharing one syringe becomes a cheaper, faster alternative. The Fiji Health Ministry recognized Bluetoothing and chemsex, the use of methamphetamine during sexual encounters as key drivers of this HIV surge. In Fiji, meth is often injected directly into the bloodstream, and the country has reportedly emerged as a major transit hub for crystal meth trafficking, resulting in the substance flooding local communities. According to the country's most recent HIV stats report, injectable drug use accounts for 48% of Fiji's HIV cases. Sexual transmission contributes to around 47% of such cases, and health workers warn that the real numbers may be far higher than what's reported. Now, gold and crypto were on a tear even before Donald Trump came to power. However, both assets have soared even further under Trump 2.0. The market moves under Trump's second term. It's filled with joy for risk assets, and at the same time, his policy decisions have driven safe haven gold to new peaks repeatedly. Now, a government shutdown in the US is likely to push gold past $4,000 an ounce. That would double the yellow metal's price in less than 2 years. The haven asset has plenty of reasons to be trading at these lofty levels. Gold benefits from lower interest rates that reduce the opportunity cost of holding it from higher inflation. It also rises when the dollar falls. Reason because gold is priced in dollars, it competes with cash. Right now, all three factors are working in gold's favor. On the other hand, cryptos have soared to all-time highs driven by Trump's policies in favor of the industry. Bitcoin hit a fresh peak on Sunday of above $123,500, surpassing August record. Now, if bets in the options markets are anything to go by, the OG token is well set on its path towards $130,000. There's upheaval in Washington and trust in the dollar is shaken. A cycle of rate cuts that kicked off last month and the US administration's attacks on the Federal Reserve have piled more pressure on the greenback. All those events have favored the digital assets industry, apart from a wider and increasing adoption into mainstream trading trends. For Wall Street stocks, the momentum of the more than $20 trillion rally is easing off. Ahead of the crucial earnings season, threats to the torrid US stock market rally are compounding. Corporate America is set to start disclosing results next week, and expectations are sky high. Any results short of expectations will likely drive a deep sell-off. With no end in sight for the government shutdown, traders are gearing up for risk-driven volatility. More importantly, investors are flying nearly blind with respect to key economic data as the impasse on funding, it's delayed those reports as well. And astronomers may have just found a new neighbor in our solar system, but we haven't actually seen it yet. They've spoken of the existence of planet Y, a potential world that could be lurking way beyond Neptune. Take a look at this next report to find out more.
Astronomers may have uncovered fresh clues pointing to a hidden world lurking in the farthest reaches of our solar system. Located beyond Neptune, the Kuiper Belt is a vast ring of icy objects. For decades, scientists have wondered if unseen planets might be influencing these distant bodies. The research published in monthly notices of the Royal Astronomical Society highlights an unexpected tilt around 15 degrees in the orbits of these distant objects. This tilt can be explained by known planetary forces or passing stars. Scientists' simulations suggest planet Y could be orbiting between 100 and 200 times the distance between the Earth and the Sun with a significant tilt of its own. This planet would be distinct from the theorized Planet 9, believed to be much larger and farther away. The search for Planet Y may soon gain momentum with the Vera C. Rubin Observatory in Chile. Equipped with the world's largest digital camera, it will scan the entire sky every 3 days during its 10-year survey, offering new hope for detecting this elusive world. As scientists continue to peer into the darkness beyond Neptune, Planet Y remains a tantalizing possibility, and a new piece in the cosmic puzzle of our solar system. Bureau Report, WION World is One.
Now, Sunday saw our rivals India and Pakistan square off on the cricket field again, this time at the ICC ODI Women's World Cup in Colombo. The result was the same. India dominated and won the match. But more than the result, what really made headlines was the interruption in play due to bugs. The bugs started causing problems as early as the 20th over of India's innings. Just as the sun was setting in Colombo, they could be seen swarming over the heads of the players and causing enough trouble for Pakistan skipper Fatima Sana to call for a bug spray a few overs later. But their presence became unbearable a little later as proper fumigation had to be done. Play was halted for 15 minutes as a man wearing a gas mask entered the field with a fogging machine. The match resumed after the smoke cleared, but the bugs were back barely 10 minutes later. A match being stopped for such a bizarre reason is rare but not unheard of. Over the years, we've seen multiple strange reasons for cricket matches being brought to a halt. In 2024, the third T20I between South Africa and India in Centurion was stopped for about 30 minutes after flying ants invaded the pitch. A similar incident happened in 2017 in Johannesburg, only this time the game was halted for over an hour and the intruders were bees. A beekeeper was called in to remove them amid cheers from bewildered fans before South Africa versus Sri Lanka game resumed. Over the years, we've seen matches getting delayed due to bad light, rain, even fog. But in 2019, an ODI match between India and New Zealand was delayed due to very good weather. During sunset, the rays fell straight into the batter's eyes, causing this delay. Cricket matches have also been stopped after fire alarms have gone off, not once but twice. Australian off-spinner Nathan Lyon's burnt toast triggered the alarm, halting New South Wales match against Queensland. And back in 2007, an English county game was interrupted after smouldering gravy in the kitchen set off the alarm sensors. Now, continuing with man-made delays, in 2017, a Ranji Trophy match between Delhi and Uttar Pradesh had to be stopped when a man drove his car onto the pitch. Several prominent cricketers, including Gautam Gambhir, Ishant Sharma and Suresh Raina, were left bewildered. And perhaps the funniest interruption came during the IPL in 2019. The match between Punjab Kings and Royal Challengers Bengaluru was paused because the ball couldn't be found after a strategic timeout. The fourth umpire even came out with a box of new balls until replays showed that one of the umpires had the ball in his own pocket all along. All right, and let's just take a look at some other stories around the world as well. We're going to leave you with this one. Thank you so much for tuning in to Gravitas.
From the bustling trading floors of Wall Street to the vibrant exchanges of Asian stock markets, WION breaks it down for you to make sense of what's happening, as we reveal the key factors behind events, strategic battles, and the game-changing business decisions that shape the world. We bring you all of this and more on World Business Watch.
Where darkness hides behind every corner. Where the truth is stranger than fiction. a show that dives deep into the stories which shock and mystify. Unsolved murders, psychopaths who defy explanation,